1948, the Palestinian diaspora won. November 2nd, 1917, Balfour Declaration called for the establishment of a Jewish homeland, written by Arthur Balfour, the British Foreign Secretary. The document was very vague, for it did not clearly define the fate of the Palestinian people. More than 85% of the population was Palestinian Arab at the time of the declaration. 1948, the Palestinian diaspora too. Jewish immigration started in the early 1920s. Discrimination in Eastern Europe. Hitler and the Nazi Party's rise. The Jewish National Fund helped the people buy land. Jewish people buy land. Palestinians were unable to pay high taxes to the British, were forced to sell the properties. High prices attract rich elite Palestinian families who own land in the Palestinian capital, but lived in rich cities such as Beirut. The transfer of cultivated land from Arab to British ownership had a devastating effect on the Palestinian peasantry, which in the 1936 still composed 2/3 of the Arab population of the mandate. 1948, the Palestinian diaspora III. UN partition plan. To divide Palestine into 3 district areas. 54% of the Jewish population is in blue, 42% of the Arab Palestinians is in gray, and 4% as an international zone, which includes Jerusalem, white, as you can tell on the map. 1948, the Palestinian diaspora IV. April Deir Yassin massacre. Plan D, conquest and permanent occupation or leveling of Arab villages and towns. Deir Yassin, Arab village near Jerusalem. 343 people died. News of massacre caused fear among Palestinians and led them to flee once they heard of Zionist military forces approaching their villages. May 15th, the birth of Israel. USA Western sympathy because of the Holocaust. 1948, Arab-Israeli war. Israeli aggression towards Palestine incited Arab countries to fight a war against Israel. Israel received the latest military equipment from Europe, created 700,000 Palestinian refugees, enlarged the size of Israel. The First Intifada, uprising, War of the Stones. The First Intifada 1, Intifada equals uprising, December 9, 1987 to 1993. As a result of the frustration over occupation, torture and abuse, illegal detention, increased Israeli settlement, house demolitions, and high unemployment rates. Second Intifada, the Al-Aqsa Intifada, September 29, 2000. The Second Intifada, background info. Masjid al-Aqsa equals the third holiest site for Muslims. The Israeli government has been accused of attempting to destroy the foundation of Masjid al-Aqsa through excavations around the mosque, led to a widespread protest in the Muslim world. The Second Intifada, background info too. The 1982 massacres of Palestinians at Sabra Shatila refugee camps claimed the lives of at least 800 civilians, murdered by Lebanese Christian militiamen. Allied to Israel during its brief occupation of Lebanese capital, Beirut. BBC World News. The Second Intifada, background info 4. Amnesty International welcomes actions taken in accordance with international law to combat impunity. We support the judicial investigation into Ariel Sharon's responsibility with regard to Sabra and Shatila massacre. Amnesty International. Ariel Sharon was suspected of correspondence with the Phalangists right before the Sabra and Shatila massacre. Sharon's entrance into a Muslim holy site would obviously provoke anger, considering his alleged war crime history. The Second Intifada, Israeli provocation. Second Intifada was the result of Ariel Sharon's visit to Masjid al-Aqsa, one of the holiest Islamic sites in Jerusalem. About 1,000 military men entering the Al-Aqsa Mosque along with Ariel Sharon. The Israeli army prevented Palestinian Muslim worshippers from entering the mosque. Palestinians protested as an act of humiliation. Second Intifada, Israeli provocation. The second day, the 2,000 Israeli police stormed the Al-Aqsa compound after the Friday Shema prayers in response to the Palestinian protests and riots. 300 injured, 7 died. Second Intifada continues till this day. Children martyrs. Mohammed al-Darwish, 12-year-old Palestinian boy killed September 30th, 2000. Result of Israeli gunfire, died in his father's arms. Mohammed al-Barai, 5 5-month-old baby killed February 28, 2008, in an Israeli missile strike in Gaza. Very past.
Thank you, Ruba, for that wonderful presentation. Next, we have Professor Mohan Naji, who would like to give us some insight on the advancement of Darwish's contribution to the advancement of Arabic poetry and his political impact on the region. Let's welcome him.
Thank you, Shinaz. I would like just to say briefly a few words about the poetry of Darwish and also about his work and his life. I would like to start by first reading a very short poem in Arabic which he wrote a few months only before he died. من أنا لأقول لكم ما أقول لكم. من أنا؟ كان يمكن أن لا يحالفني الوحي، والوحي حظ الوحيدين. إن القصيدة رمية نرد على رقعة من ظلام، تشع وقد لا تشع، فيهوي الكلام كريش على الرمل. ليس لي أي دور بما كنت أو سأكون، هو الحظ والحظ لا اسم له. قد نسميه حداد أقدارنا أو نسميه ساعي بريد السماء، نسميه نجار التخت الوديد ونعش الفقير. So briefly, this short poem is philosophical. It talks about life and death, destiny, and also about luck in life. I think he was like dying before he wrote this short poem about the meaning of life and the meaning of destiny. So Darwish, the great Arab poet, who was honored by the whole world last week, the first week of October, to mark the 40th day of his death. Noisily he came to life from the womb of his mother Huriya in the Galilee village of Al-Barwa. The world enjoyed his poetry for 66 years. He stands out among the top poets of the world who have recognized the loss of Mahmoud Darwish. We have lost one of the cornerstones of human thought and creativity. Last week, the world paid tribute to his marvelous poetry and artistic power. The World Forum for Literature in Berlin last week made an appeal to cultural organizations and institutions like radio stations, television, schools, theaters, and all interested the world over to organize poetry readings from the poet Mahmoud Darwish in October 2008 as a way of honoring the late poet